Hello and welcome back to This Day in History. Today is April 27th, 2024, and we are going to go back in history of certain events that have happened on this day in for April 27th. So let's get started with birthdays, shall we? The very first one right off the bat is all the way back in 1791. A man named Samuel F.B. Morse. He was born on this day. If you don't know who Samuel F.B. Morse is, have you ever heard of Morse code? That's him. Samuel Morse was the inventor of the telegraph. The dee, kind of like a teleprompter. The telegraph is his predecessor. It's how they sent messages in the Old West. They sent them, the very first telephone lines were actually telegraph lines. It was a rapid communication. You could communicate in real time. It didn't matter if you were in, if you were in Independence, Missouri, and you needed to send a telegram to Washington, D.C., you get on that thing, tap, 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 and it would make it real time. It was the predecessor to teletypes, predecessor to telephones, all that. So, and in the Morse code, everyone knows what an SOS is. Well, dot, 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 dash, 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 dot, dot, dot. That's Morse code. He developed that system. Well, he developed the communication tool, and then he developed the communication method for that tool. So, good stuff. Next birthday we have is 1822. Ulysses S. Grant. He was a Union general, later became president. He was like the 18th president, I believe, of the United States. So today is his birthday. Coretta Scott King, she was an American civil rights activist. She was born on this day in 1927, ironically enough. That's not ironic, not funny, just side note. Same year that my grandfather was born. 1932, Casey Kasem. If you're old like me, you know who Casey Kasem is. Casey Kasem, he hosted a top 40 countdown of hits on the radio. Did it every Sunday. Did it for years and years and years. He would sometimes read, he'd have a little bit where requests and dedications, where he would read letters from the fans, and they would request a song based on this, or they would dedicate a song to somebody for some reason, or whatever it was. He would do that too, but he held this top 40 countdown radio show. He also did voice work for cartoons. The original Scooby-Doo, he was Shaggy. He also did some voice work for Transformers, I believe. I'm not sure about G.I. Joe or any of the other cartoons that I grew up with, but he was a voice actor, and his voice was his livelihood. And super cool guy. I was saddened when he passed away. His daughter actually got into radio, so she kind of followed the footsteps of her father there. Yeah, he was a cool guy. In 1967, on this day, Willem-Alexander, he is the King of Netherlands. He was born today. So happy birthday. This day in history, in 1992, we're going most recent to further back. Betty Boothroyd, I hope I pronounced her name right. She's the very first woman to ever be elected Speaker of the House of Commons over in England. She served there until 2000, I believe. On this day in 1981, Xerox PARC had debuted the very first personal computer mouse. The thing you little click and, moves your cursor around. That debuted on this day in 1981. In 1960, Western African country of Tonga gains its independence. It had been a French territory, but it had been running autonomously for several years. That after several years of running, autonomously without any kind of oversight or anything like that, they gained their independence. So that's pretty cool. In 1865, the SS Sultana exploded on the Mississippi River. It was a steamship. It was heavily overloaded, and it had a lot of repatriated POWs from the Civil War who were just, being sent back home. And unfortunately, an explosion happened, and a lot of people died. It was known as the single most catastrophic maritime event in U.S. territory. So yeah, bad news there. On this day in 1828, London Zoo opens in Regent's Park. On this day in 1521, Ferdinand Magellan is killed. Now, if you don't know who Ferdinand Magellan is, I'm sure you've heard of the Magellan GPS. It takes its namesake after Magellan. Magellan, like, drawing a blank here, like Christopher Columbus, like Amerigo Vespucci, like Cortez and a bunch of others. These guys were explorers. They set out on the open seas. Magellan actually discovered, he had a couple different trade routes that he discovered. He kind of blazed the path that went from Europe down to the bottom of Africa and then around Africa and, to India. There's a Magellan Strait that's named after him. When GPS technology was coming out and they started, one of the companies decided to name themselves the Magellan after him. Well, he was in the Philippines and he had an altercation with local inhabitants and ended up dying. As a result of that altercation, he was killed. They killed him. Dead. Tragic. Back in 1296, King Edward I of England, he invades Scotland. I'm not quite sure why, but there had always been some contention between the Scottish and the English. You know what? This might be Edward Longshanks. And I think Edward I might be him. I can't remember, but side note here, Edward Longshanks was the king that was, if you've ever seen the movie Braveheart, William Wallace and, all of them, they were vying for Scottish independence of English rule. This might be around that time. I'd have to double check on that. But at any rate, King Edward I of England, he invades Scotland and he removes the coronation stone of Scone. And now it's kind of making sense why he would have done that. If the Scottish were trying to gain independence, then he would have taken away something that was important to them. The coronation stone of Scone was removed from its location there in Scotland, and it was brought back to Westminster Abbey. Yeah, Eddie, you weren't a nice guy. So, at any rate, that is April 27th. We'll do this again tomorrow, April 28th. I got a full day. I was supposed to go out and see a friend of mine today, but he wasn't feeling well, so we weren't celebrating my birthday at all today. But other friends are taking me out for my birthday tomorrow night, so we'll have a busy day there. At any rate, come back and join me again tomorrow, where we will go over April 28th. So stay tuned for that. As always, have a blessed day. Have a great day. I'm glad to have you here with me. Drop comments. Let me know if you're enjoying these. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep doing them blindly because, yeah, that's what I do. At any rate, so thanks for stopping by. Thanks for hanging out. This has been your day in history for April 27th. Have a blessed day. Take care, and goodbye.